What's up, everybody? My name is Mike. I'm the founder and one of the mentors of our page, Potatoes on the Couch, which was co-founded by me and one of my friends half a year ago. We're currently opening General English 4K classes and IELTS classes, whether it is foundation or exam preparation. And if any one of you guys like to know the class information and details about them, you can always send us a message via our page messenger, and we'll be more than happy to provide you with the needed information and the class details as necessary. So today, let me introduce you guys about our newest program. It's called Potatoes Podcast, and today is gonna be the very first episode of it, the episode 1. So in this episode number 1, I'm gonna be your host throughout this podcast. So today, I'm gonna be deep diving into the topic about how to manage the internet addiction. So this is like a very common topic that everybody knows, and I imagine many of you are already familiar with the internet addiction, and many of you are even experiencing yourself. Well, because on social media, I see a lot of people talking about the internet addiction, whether it's teenagers or social influencers, literally everybody, all the time. And I imagine some of you might be even sick of hearing somebody talks about internet addiction. I understand that as well. However, the journey to finding healthy balance with the internet and technology at large is an ongoing process. It's like a never-ending journey that we as a whole is going through all at once. So don't pretend like you don't have an issue with internet addiction. Listen, it's different for all of us. Some of us are better at managing internet addiction than others, but I would argue we are in one way or another addicted to the internet and addicted to technology in a way that is not good for our well-being overall. And it looks different for everyone because everyone has different mindset, everyone has different idea, and everyone has different addiction. It's on different levels for everyone, like I said, but I think the internet addiction is like a universal problem that everyone is facing at some point in their life, one way or another. There's something so cringe about being like, come on, you guys, we have to stop going on the internet so much when it's likely the backbone of our society at this point. It's likely, not likely, it's like how to say that it has already become the basic necessity for everyone in this sophisticated world. And it's something that we will struggle to live without. I mean, can you see someone in your household or in your neighborhood who doesn't spend their day without using an internet or without using their phone? There's no one, right? And it's something that brings a lot of joy and positivity to us in a lot of ways as well. But at the same time, it's so easy to get to a place where we are overdoing it, you know what I mean? Where we are over-consuming the information on the internet to the point that we're overusing it. And for me personally, if I have to be frank, I'm very aware of my unhealthy tendencies with the internet and also with technology. And I'm determined to get into a good place, to get into a balanced place that's sustainable. Because in the past, I've tried things that have worked temporarily, just for a short period of time. I've never really been able to crack it fully though. So if I have to address my personal experience, personal past experience, because I did that back in 2022, so it was more than 2 years ago now. Anyway, at that time, I practiced social media detox. It was so popular in the pandemic period, and I was following the trend, I would say. So I did that, and it lasted me for about maybe 2 months. Yeah, just maximum 2 months, not more than 2 months. And at the time, I felt I felt cut off from the real world because I didn't use social media during that time. I just every time I wake up, I just grab a book and read that, and I just how to say that, maybe go for a walk and meeting with my friends. Yes, and maybe also playing some how to say that, some sports basketball or something. I don't exactly recall, but I think I play basketball. Yeah. Anyway, so I try a social media detox. So it's also called dopamine detox, I guess. And it's basically the idea of like, the idea of that's like you remove all things that release dopamine in your brain in a big way, in like an immersed way. So for example, to be like how to say that to be simple, simply speaking, like you have to stop doing everything that please you, everything that pleasure you, like including going on the phone, watching TV, playing games, eating junk food, and you're forced to exist in a very simple way, ideally to help you build motivation, to do some of the tasks that are necessary, like get your housework done, or cook a meal for yourself, or read a book. Like I said, it's basically, hypothetically, a way to retrain your brain to enjoy mundane crucial tasks more, like more than before. And I think that there is something valuable about that. Like, I definitely benefited from that experience, giving myself sort of like a stimulation detox, I would say. It's definitely a controversial way of handling things, but I actually found value in it. Isn't that strange? No, I don't think so, because they're like maybe there might be, a lot of people like me who found like at least one value in doing that. I can't really say that for sure, I'm just guessing. However, for me though, it didn't really stick long term. Like I couldn't live in a state of dopamine detox all the time because as I'm like a typical human being, I have needs, I have like cravings, I need to go online. I mean, I need to go on social media. Sometimes I do want to, shop for like some items on the internet sometimes. And I do want to order food delivery sometimes. I don't want to live my life like in like a way there's no indulgence at all because I don't think that's healthy either. But after ending that detox, I eventually went back to my old habits, which was unfortunate. A lot of the things I've tried had not stuck, and so I'm on a journey to finding new tactics that will work better. So let me discuss about my internet addiction and why it's such a problem. My internet addiction, I would say, exists mainly on the phone. I would say on my MacBook and my iPad, I have a healthy balance of doing some indulgent things like online shopping, going on Pinterest, browsing the internet, watching YouTubes, and doing things that are somewhat indulgent. But for the most part, I'm good at accomplishing my task on my MacBook or on my iPad. I don't get as distracted on those devices as on my phone. So I don't tend to go on social media on those devices. I don't watch as much content or consume as much content on my MacBook and my iPad. I tend to do most of that on my phone. So I'm happy with my relationship between those two devices. Those are really just for work, and for the most part, it's for entertainment. Like when I meant entertainment, I just meant Netflix. So it's the phone that really messed up my balance because number one, on the phone, social media is in your pocket at all times, right? So it's the same way for me. I spend way too much time on social media. I don't think it makes sense for everyone to delete social media and just completely be off of it. I mean, I enjoy social media. There's a lot to be gained from social media for me in a lot of ways, I've realized. Like, I get a lot of inspiration from social media, like from people creating art and doing some cool stuff or traveling to cool places. I enjoy watching vlogs, whether it's like a traveling vlogs or eating vlogs. I don't hate social media in all ways. I connect with people on it. Like when someone follows me and I'm like, oh, actually I'm a fan of them. Like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna, how to say that? I'm gonna be happy, to be honest, as all humans are. But on my Instagram though, I don't really follow anyone. I just like follow, my close friends and the people I know, people I cherish to have in my life. Sometimes I'm gonna message them. Sometimes I'm gonna send them like Instagram reels, and maybe like sometimes I'm gonna like text my friends to hang out. But the worst thing is like since I'm currently living in Bangkok and most of my friends are living in other countries and some of them are staying in Yangon, so I can really hang out with them all the time and I don't really have that much friends here. Anyway, so back to the topic. So, the phone, for example, is like a daily necessity item for like literally everyone. And like I said, it's in your pocket all the time, so you end up going on it way too much. Like, you know, for example, when I'm in like at the grocery store, I'm on like Instagram. When I'm on Instagram, or when I'm like laying in my bed, and instead of reading a book before I go to bed, I'm scrolling through reels, Instagram reels, YouTube shorts, and like TikTok videos, like that never ending cycle. And I just like went down to the rabbit hole every night. I try to control it, but I still can't find a way. So when it's in your pocket, when it's on your phone, the thing that is on your body at all times, almost it's very hard not to go on it all the time. So like I said, I do spend way too much time on social media. And what does that do for me? Number one, it makes me anxious. It makes me cautious. So just for some reason, the overstimulation makes me anxious. I end up like doing toxic things on social media. Like I'll be like, oh, what's the person doing? I'm gonna check it on, what they're doing, and then I start stalking people that maybe make me feel insecure about myself, or I'm like stalking people that are ultimately not in my life anymore, and I shouldn't really be checking in on like what they are doing because I kind of need them to be out of my life. There's a reason why they're out of my life. I don't want to like go into details, but there's a reason why they are out of my life, and I don't really need to see what they are up to. You know what I'm talking about? And I might end up getting anxious from that. So it's not good. It's bad. It's toxic. Anyway, overall, it just puts me in a negative headspace. I've also found that being on social media too much also makes me feel encouraged, discouraged, and unmotivated. I think it's because going on social media releases so much dopamine that it makes it hard to, then go and do a somewhat tedious task like do your dishes or get your work done because you have released all this dopamine. Now, you don't have any love to release when you want to do these more mundane tasks. That will be satisfying when you complete them, but it's harder to motivate because they're not as I found online. Dopaminergic? I don't really know the word. I just like saw this word on Wikipedia, and I just like also like saw this word in one book. I actually forgot the book title, but anyway, I think which means like they're not as satisfying in a way as before. They're so satisfying, but they're not as satisfying as going on the phone. And then last but not least, going on social media too much causes me to feel disconnected from reality. Like I feel weirdly disassociated when I'm on social media too much, and like my brain is not existing in the real world, it's existing in that fake virtual world. Like all the values and priorities and things that are happening on social media become what is happening in my real life instead of what's actually tangibly happened in front of me. Does that make sense? And it's overwhelming. Like when you're living in the real world, there's much less going on. You're just experiencing what you and your close loved ones are experiencing and what's happening at the grocery store and what's happening at your favorite coffee shop. And that's kind of it. And that's like a much more relaxing and calm existence. But when you're like going on social media constantly, it's always in your pocket, it's always on your head, it's always like on your mind, you're always on it, you end up like believing that social media is like real subconsciously, and then you live in the universe. You can control it, whereas you just like tap in every once in a while to check in on what your loved ones are posting, what your favorite artists or social influencer or creative people are doing, and drop a few likes. Then you get off. That doesn't really get in the way of your reality. Another thing I've noticed that I'm constantly overstimulated, whether it's from Instagram or platforms like that, or it's from YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, I am like very, very addicted to YouTube. But I don't really consider YouTube as a social media. You know, I mean, it's more like an entertainment platform. But I'm still addicted to watching YouTube. Like I go through like these phases, like when a moment goes by throughout the day where I don't have a YouTube video playing. It's so bizarre and it's so weird and it's so bad. Unless I'm working and I really can't have that noise playing when I'm eating breakfast, when I'm eating my lunch, when I'm eating my dinner, or when I'm working out. So in fact, I actually consume a lot of really positive content. Like I watch a lot of like business analysis stuff for some reason. I mean, it kind of like makes sense because like because of my page, Potato on the Couch, which is like a educational page, and we're now opening or in English classes for like literally every student, everyone, every Burmese student from like all over the country, you know. And this might be a spoiler, but like we're kind of like planning to maybe open some language classes in the near future, probably in a few months, like Japanese language classes or Thai language classes. Yeah, maybe they're like coming in a few months. Yeah, so this might like serve as a spoiler for you guys. But anyways, I think the reason why I'm so curious about like what happened in like in my educational field is because of my page, because of my career, because of my current career. Yeah, I'm like a English teacher, so I'm like curious about how the world of education is like changing, and I'm really curious about like what other mentors are doing their best, like how they like doing, how they like managing the classes or something like that. So, and I've learned a lot. I've generally like found so much value in the past few years by consuming like literally so many stuffs on YouTube. And there's also some things that's like hilarious and just like genuinely enjoyable to experience. So it's not all bad, right? But being overstimulated is bad. I mean, at least like bad for me. And not ever giving your brain a moment to just like wonder without any other variable. So that's not good because a lot of my job is in some ways creative, coming up with like different ideas. In order to come up with those ideas and get into that state where I'm coming up with the ideas, I need to be bored at times. you know I need to like sit in silence sometimes. This needs to happen frequently throughout my day. Like I need to have moments of silence and almost boredom every day while I'm like doing my household chores, or when I'm like having my lunch or doing like whatever. I need moments where things are quiet, or else I can be creative. And on top of that, I end up like feeling disconnected from myself when I'm overstimulated, like when all of my thoughts are not my own and instead they are things that I saw online. I end up losing the impossible to explain connection that I can feel to myself when I'm the most grounded. So when I'm like spending multiple hours a day on social media, it's really bad. It's really not healthy. Yeah. So and also you know um in times when you're away from your phone, you really miss out on the experience of like people when you do all these things online. It's so easy to be just like, oh, I'm just gonna get my groceries delivered, I'm just gonna get dinner delivered tonight, I'm just gonna like order this stuff online. And I tend to like overdo it a lot. Like I feel like when I'm like shopping online or consuming things online, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. Like when I'm ordering some clothes online, there's something about ordering online where I end up like ordering more than what I need. And when I'm ordering my dinner, I'll be like, oh, all of these things like look good, I'm just gonna add them all to the cart and like maybe like dismiss some of the items later. But I just like, how to say that, end up like ordering them anyway. So when I'm like ordering groceries, like the opposite will happen, and I'll end up like not discovering new things because I'm not walking through the eyes, or miss out on the opportunity to be inspired to cook something because there's a piece of produce that's in season and they have an abundance of that in the store. You know what I'm saying? So it messes up the whole process on both extremes. And then with food specifically, like ordering food delivery, you miss out on cooking. And cooking is like so delightful, cooking is so therapeutic. I know that. I mean, eating home cooked food can really hit different. I mean, I think at least for me in my life. And my roommate can complain because like I don't cook that much, but I can't blame myself either because I have like too many classes in a day and I barely have any free time to cook. Yeah, and anyway. So when it comes to like breakfast, brunch, or lunch, or whatever my first half of the day looks like, I'm usually pretty good about making that food at home. So when it comes to like dinner, I'm always like, oh, I already did enough in the morning, and I just like bored. So I'll come up with like another sort of excuse, like another plan to order in, and I miss out on so many experiences when I order food in. I miss out on eating at a restaurant, which I very much enjoy, and I miss out on the experience of like preparing food by myself. Yeah. Anyway, so we really, like undervalue the mundane day-to-day sort of interactions that we have with people, and that's a bad thing. We kind of like have to face that. I think it's not even me, like because like in my friend cycle, I have seen a few of my friends who's doing exactly like me. So we're all like, how to say that? I think it's like a generational, thing for like literally everyone around my age. But I don't know. I don't want to like judge. I don't want to make a comment about that. So anyway, back to the topic. So on social media, like everything can be fake. Everything can be like how to say that, manipulated. Like nobody's really like helping each other on social media. There's a lot of, like really horrible conversations like happening at all times. Whether it's horrible because it's mean like bullying, or it's horrible because it's drama, it's horrible because like it's terrible events like happening in the war, whatever it is. It can make you believe that there's no good in the war anymore, which is not true, which is just not true. Believe me. Now, like when you believe that there's good in the world, doesn't take away from the bad in the world, because that absolutely exists as well. And we should not turn a blind eye to it, but we also need to remember that there is good in the world, because if we don't, I don't know how we will survive. So another piece of my internet addiction is the time wasted. Whether it's endlessly scrolling on online websites, looking at different things to buy, or it's scrolling on social media, or it's like watching too many YouTube videos, or whatever. I waste too much time doing those stuff on the internet. That's totally pointless for me, when I could be like reading books, discovering new hobbies, or pursuing existing hobbies, or consuming things that are more artistic, such as like watching a really cool movie or documentary or TV series. There's so many things I could be doing that could help me learn more about the world, that could help me improving my skills, that could help me like learn new skills. There's literally so many things I could be doing with my time that will improve me as a person, as a teacher, but also improve my quality of life. And I'm not giving myself enough time to do them because I'm on the internet all the time. So this internet addiction for me, is really bad, and I've been struggling with it for like years and years now. And I think most of us have like led me to some dark places, like really, really bad phases of like severe anxiety, really dark phases of, depressive episodes, and just overall having a sour brain. Like being on the internet too much just rots the brain. It's giving you brain rots. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Anyway, it really does rot to your brain, like I said, in all ways. Mental health and just perspective, and that's why like it's just all bad when you're overdoing it. But at the same time, I don't want to get rid of it completely. I mean, I enjoy ordering things online. Sometimes it's really easy because you can just like find exactly what you want. Like a lot of times when you go into the store, they won't have your size or something. It's easier to order things online, whether it's like a clothes or an item or food. I mean, it's fun to get inspiration from social media or Pinterest or wherever. It's fun to watch YouTube videos sometimes. It can even be educational. There's a lot of like great in the internet, and I spent a long time feeling like it was all evil. That like that there was no saving grace. But I don't think that's necessarily true as of now, and I do think there's something about it that's magical. But what I've been trying to figure out is, how do I take what is good with the internet and then leave behind what is bad? How do I find balance? And again, I've been searching for this for so fucking long. But sorry about, excuse my language. I just like got into the mood. Yeah. But anyway, I've recently have tried something new. Okay, so now this might be controversial. I don't know. I don't know what you guys will think of this, but I've recently decided to have two separate devices. I mean, like two phones, or a phone and an iPad, or a phone and like another uh, laptop or something. I know this seems extreme, but hear me out. I just want to like try it as an experiment and see how it goes. So I noticed that having social media and shopping apps and food delivery apps and all these other things in my phone, in my pocket at all times was the root of my internet addiction truly. And so I decided to get two devices like I said. Now I wouldn't have done this if being on the internet, on Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube and all things wasn't my job. As I'm like teaching English, as I'm like as I have to like interact with my students, as I have to communicate with my students about the classes, my job involves like being on the internet most of the time, right? So if I was not in a career where being on the internet makes sense, I would not have done that. I would not have decided to use two different devices. I took a like slightly different approach than I would maybe recommend to somebody who is not in my position, I would say. Yeah. So social media addiction is another thing, how do I say that? Internet addiction and social media addiction is like kind of like different, to be honest. Because like for internet addiction, then you might get addicted to using the internet, whether it's like a social media or whether it's like playing online games or whether it's like watching movies online or something like that. But social media addiction, on the other hand, is about using too much Facebook, too much Instagram, too much TikToks, something like that. Yeah. And recently, as an achievement, I've been cooking a lot more. Yeah, this has just been like a great experience. And listen, I won in extreme role by getting two devices. I don't necessarily think that will work for everyone. I think that's excessive for some people, and I completely get it. And I think there's so many other ways to do it. I just like recently did like a how to say that discussion session with one of my friends, and she told me that she kind of like has a social media addiction too, and she was saying that she deletes social media apps all the time. Like she tries to delete social media apps all the time, but it doesn't work for her. Like after like some period of time, after she delete like some apps, and then she couldn't help herself like installing it. She couldn't like help herself, and she kind of like install it again. So okay, so psychologically, for me though, I just don't think that social media detox kind of like work. So I mean, it might work for like some people, but for me, it's not work for me at all. I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, I tried it like 2 years ago, and it just like lasted about 2 months for me. Yeah. So like that hasn't been too bad. I've like definitely been getting bored when I've been working out. I've been working out on my own recently. And I think the thing I miss the most is actually watching YouTube all the time, like constantly consuming YouTube. I almost miss that more than scrolling through social media. I don't really miss that as much. I mean, currently I have like at least maybe 4 or 5 class times each day, so I have to like interact with my students on some applications, so I don't have that much free time to go on social media, to roam around on the social media applications, let alone to watch YouTube. Yeah. And I think I sort of have a FOMO, which is like the acronym for the fear of missing out. So I sort of have a little fear of missing out, like, oh my god, what's everyone posting? Like I want to know, like what's my friends posting? I want to know. And then very quickly I'm like, oh, I don't need to look right now, because I just like make a promise to myself that I don't use that much phone in a day or something like that. And then I get over it and I forget about that. But it was almost like things were like too calm, too quiet too. The pace was almost so slow, and it was like jarring for me. And that kind of caused me a bit of anxiety, but that passed like very quickly. Overall, it's been phenomenal. So listen, take my experience, take it. I mean, some people, take it. You can just like take it as a grain of salt, but analyze it and do what you will with it. So I can tell you though, there is a sharp increase in my quality of life. Since I've taken the internet and removed it from my pocket, I wish you luck on your journey, and that's all I have for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode, which is the very first episode of our Potatoes podcast. And maybe this will be one of the first and last conversation I have about internet addiction. Maybe because this is the time that I actually get it under control. What the it would be. I actually added controlling my time, managing my time, especially when it comes to social media as one of my 2025 New Year's resolution. But we'll see in the future whether I can master time management or not. Anyway, so I will keep you updated along our podcast journey. So to stay updated with our Potatoes podcast, please follow our page Potato on the Couch. And also maybe on the upcoming weeks, I will invite some of my friends from my team to co-host me for the Potatoes podcast, and we'll be discussing more engaging and more interesting contents on the upcoming few weeks. So stay tuned, guys. So that's all I have for today. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I love and appreciate your time, and I will talk to you very soon. Okay, so goodbye.